Welcome, everyone. My name is Sabrina, and I am a certified oncology nurse navigator. And I work at BreastCancerTrials.org, which is a program of Quantum Leap Healthcare Collaborative to improve education and access to clinical trials. And today I'm going to be giving kind of a general overview of clinical trials. In this session, we will cover what is a clinical trial, are they safe, who typically joins, what information patients need to participate, and what types of trials exist. And our goal here is just to have general information to equip you with the knowledge and confidence to understand clinical trials and evaluate your options. So let's get started. A clinical trial is a research study that investigates how well new medical treatments, drugs, devices, or procedures work in people. And the goal is to find new ways to prevent, detect, and treat disease. And researchers like to ask a few questions, such as, is the new treatment safe? Do the new treatments do what they're supposed to do? And is the new treatment better than the current standard treatment? Clinical trials are essential to medical progress, and every trial must follow strict rules to protect participants, and patients always have the right to ask questions and choose whether to take part. Who joins a trial? People participate in clinical trials for many different reasons. Patients often participate for the opportunity to try new drugs or therapies that are not yet available to the public. And this offers a potential personal benefit, as some participants hope that the trial treatment will lead to better health outcomes or an improved quality of life, especially for those whose standard treatments haven't been effective or have had serious side effects. Healthy volunteers join clinical trials to help others and contribute to scientific progress. And for these participants, the chance to move science forward and support the development of new therapies can be personally rewarding and valuable. Some individuals at high risk for breast cancer, such as those with a strong family history or genetic mutations like BRCA1 or 2, may join trials focused on prevention, early detection, or risk reduction. And these trials provide unique opportunities to learn more about risk factors and protective strategies. And then survivors of breast cancer may participate in trials that aim to prevent reoccurrence or study the long-term impacts of various treatments. There are several types of clinical trials that help advance breast cancer care. Most people are familiar with treatment trials, which test new treatments, drugs, or drug combinations to see if they are more effective or have fewer side effects than current standard treatments. These often include targeted therapies or immunotherapies. And then we have quality of life trials or non-treatment trials that focus on improving the well-being of patients by addressing symptoms, mental health, and daily functioning both during and after treatment. And then finally, we have registries and observational trials that collect long-term data on patients to track how breast cancer progresses and the effects of different treatments over time, which provides valuable insights into outcomes and risks. When people think of clinical trials, they often think about treatment trials, but really there are opportunities to participate in clinical trials across the breast cancer continuum. We start at prevention and risk assessment for lifestyle and genetic counseling, and then we go into screening and early detection with focus on mammograms, self-exams, or screening technology improvements. There are trials at the time of diagnosis, such as biomarker testing trials or diagnostic tools. And then even before treatment for the newly diagnosis, there are clinical trials that are treatment decision support tools or trials based on tumor subtype. Once a person is in active treatment, the focus of the clinical trial may be on new drugs or new types of radiation or supportive care trials, such as things to prevent neuropathy or nausea. Survivorship trials focus on long-term side effects, and there's quality of life studies, again, preventing reoccurrence, and then lifestyle and survivorship programs. And then for metastatic breast cancer patients, the focus is on extending life and improving quality of life with targeted therapies, immunotherapies, and trials for rare mutations. People are often concerned about the safety of joining a clinical trial. And it's important to know that clinical trials are designed with safety as top priority. There are many protections in place today that make sure trials remain safe and that participants are fully informed. So to begin with, before joining a trial, you'll receive an informed consent document where you'll get information about the trial. And then to keep everything safe and fair, clinical trials are carefully monitored by researchers and ethics committees. And these groups keep an eye on the trial to make sure participants are protected. On this slide, we talk a little bit more about the informed consent process. And again, before joining a trial, everyone will receive information so that they fully understand the clinical trial before deciding to join. And this document explains important details such as the purpose of the study, why it's being conducted, and what researchers are hoping to learn. It also outlines the procedures describing what will happen during the study, who is eligible to participate, and time commitment required. And then additionally, the document lists potential risks and side effects and the benefits of joining the trial. It also highlights the participation is entirely voluntary in joining a trial, and people can leave the study at any time without any penalty or impact to their medical care. There's also information about how personal data will be protected and kept confidential, and what sort of access patients may have to study-related materials. And this is really an opportunity to ask any questions to make sure you fully understand, what is happening in the clinical trial before you get started. Also looking to keep you safe is an IRB, or an institutional review board, which is a group of people like doctors, researchers, and community members who make sure that the clinical trial remains safe and fair for the people taking part in it. So before a trial can start, the IRB reviews the plan carefully to protect participants and ensure their rights are respected. They keep an eye on the study as it goes on to make sure that everything stays safe for the patients. And essentially, the IRB acts as a safeguard to make sure people are protected throughout the research process. Another way that researchers keep clinical trials safe is that they go through different phases to check to make sure that the treatment is effective and safe. And it all starts with preclinical trials, which are like practice runs in the lab. Researchers test new treatments to see if they work and if they're safe before they even give them to people. If those tests go well, they move on to phase 1, which involves a small group of people focusing on safety, dosage, and any potential side effects. In phase 2, the trial expands to a larger group, and now the focus is on checking how well the treatment works while still monitoring safety and fine-tuning the right dose. Phase 3 involves even more people, often hundreds, and they compare the new treatment to the standard of care. And this phase aims to confirm the treatment's effectiveness and gather more information on its benefits and risks across different populations. Once a treatment passes phase 3, researchers can apply for FDA approval and make it available for public use. And after approval, phase 4 begins, which is like a routine checkup for the treatment to make sure that it continues to work well and doesn't cause any unexpected issues when used widely. It's important also to note that not all treatments make it through all the phases, and some may progress more quickly if they show significant life-saving potential early on. And this careful process makes sure that only safe and effective treatments are approved for everyone. It is important to understand that All clinical trials come with some level of risk, even though every effort is made to keep those risks as low as possible. Clinical trials always involve some uncertainty, and possible risks may include side effects or other health issues during the study, often called adverse events. And there is the chance that the new treatment may not be more effective than current options or may not work as hoped. And the level of risk can vary depending on the study. And sometimes it's similar to what you might encounter in routine healthcare and sometimes different. So it's important that you understand the potential risks and benefits so that you can make the decision that's best for you. It's important for potential participants to understand what they will be responsible for and what costs are covered. So typically, the clinical trial sponsor, which may be a pharmaceutical company or a hospital or academic institution, would cover the costs of the investigational drug or medical procedures, as well as the monitoring required for the trial. However, participants may still incur costs, and it's important to know what costs are associated and that they also can vary significantly depending on the study. Understanding these different financial responsibilities is key for patients considering participation. And again, during the informed consent process, information will be given about all possible expenses involved and any possible compensation that may be provided. So this is really the time to ask questions about all costs. But in a clinical trial, sponsors will typically cover study-related medical care, any medical care directly related to the trial, such as the delivery of the study drug, medical tests, and procedures required as part of the trial protocol. But then there are costs that are typically not covered, such as any routine medical care or treatments that are not related to the clinical trial, but are necessary for the participant's ongoing health. So, for example, a participant who needs regular medications or treatments for a pre-existing condition, they will likely have to pay for those. There may be some indirect costs like travel expenses, parking, or lost wages for taking time off work for visits or procedures. And so it's important to understand these potential out-of-pocket costs. And then insurance. Many clinical trials require you to have some sort of insurance that may cover some of the costs. Some trials require participants to have insurance to cover non-study related medical care. So it's important to check with your health insurance provider to understand what aspects of care will be covered and whether you need some sort of pre-authorization before you get started. Inclusion and exclusion criteria are the rules for who can join and who cannot join a clinical trial. And they're put in place to make sure that the study is safe as possible and that the results are accurate. So inclusion criteria could be people of a certain age range or specific cancer subtypes like HER2 positive or hormone receptor positive status. And then exclusion criteria would prevent a person from joining a trial, and they can include previous treatments or prior allergic reactions to a treatment under study, or any serious uncontrolled medical conditions. And these criteria help refine the study's focus and maintain patient safety. Many patients often comment that they did not hear about a clinical trial when starting treatment and their doctor didn't ask them or tell them about clinical trials. And this is true. Healthcare professionals don't always inform or encourage patients to join clinical trials. And there are several reasons that this happens. And one of the major issues is the limited time available during medical appointments. With only a short window to address urgent health concerns and outline treatment plans, discussing clinical trials may not always be the top priority, and doctors often want to focus on immediate treatment options and may not have the time to go into the details of research opportunities. Some healthcare providers may worry about losing control of the patient's care, especially if the trial is being conducted at another hospital, which would mean that the patient would have to do the clinical trial elsewhere. Another challenge is the lack of knowledge about all available clinical trials. With the constant flow of new research studies and the wide range of responsibilities, healthcare providers don't always stay completely updated on every trial. And so they may not know that a new trial has come out. And then lastly, there may be some unconscious bias in patient selection where providers may make assumptions about who might be interested or who is able to understand clinical trials, and this can lead to missed opportunities for patients who could benefit from these research options. It's important for patients to know about clinical trials, and then when preparing to talk to your doctor about trials, it's important to be proactive and feel confident that you have the right to ask about all your treatment options, including those that may only be available through research. So start by doing a little homework, understand what clinical trials are and why you might want them as part of your treatment plan. You don't need to be an expert, but having some background can help guide the conversation. Bring a list of questions with you, and then be honest about your goals. If you're hoping for a new treatment or better quality of life, or want to contribute to research. Lastly, take notes, bring a trusted friend who can help listen and ask questions. It's a lot to take in, and support can make a big difference. And then it's okay if you do find a trial or a trial that's outside the hospital where you're being treated to ask your doctor if, you are eligible to join that trial. And then if your doctor's not telling you about trials, there are many tools available, such as breastcancertrials.org, that can help patients find trials on their own. When patients feel more comfortable understanding the clinical trial process, including safety, costs, and maybe their doctor has not mentioned trials to them, they can come to breastcancertrials.org to find a trial that meets their specific criteria. And this platform was really designed with patients in mind, allowing them to seek out trials independently if they choose to do so. At breastcancertrials.org, we have three major programs. Breast Cancer Trial Search is for patients who have stage 0, 1, 2, and 3 breast cancer. It's also for breast cancer survivors and for people who are healthy or high risk. And then we have Metastatic Trial Search for stage 4 breast cancer patients. And then Metastatic Trial Talk, which is a monthly email newsletter that's designed as a companion to Metastatic Trial Search that features topics related to clinical trial education and any new trials that are posted on Metastatic Trial Search. And this is just a visual of the website. If you come, you can see where you can click for Breast Cancer Trial Search or Metastatic Trial Search. But then down here in the lower left-hand corner, if you are interested in speaking with a clinical trial navigator and you had specific questions or you don't quite understand your diagnosis or need more help in finding a trial or learning about trials, you can click down here and you can get to our scheduling app, which will pull up a calendar, which will have, a day and time where you can have a one-on-one conversation. And again, our mission at breastcancertrials.org is to empower all people affected by breast cancer to consider clinical trials as a routine option for care. We are always here to answer any questions. It's always a pleasure to partner with Share. We have the same mission of helping breast cancer patients. If you are wanting more information about breastcancertrials.org, you can email us or give us a call. Thanks so much.